I mean, it does seem like, yeah, there has been stalemate. They hit a major obstacle, and one party felt they can't overcome it. It seems to me, I don't know what you think, that it could be overcome yet.
Well, the thing about life is promoted bias. If you don't like Frank Warren and Tyson Fury, you're going to have your view and made your mind up with this fight gets stopped. If you like Eddie Hearn and his fighters and Andy Joshua, you're going to have your view on them. In this instance, it's about wills and ways. I'm not entirely sure that we heard a continued will from Usyk's camp to try and make the fight happen any further. If you believe Frank Warren, and he was as robust as he wanted to be, about the will to get this fight on, then if you've got the will, you will always find a way. Now, the will has to be matched from the other side. And I do think there has to be some concessions. If it is an argument about... Frank's analogy about Barnett and Manchester United is an unfair analogy because, first of all, Oleksandr Usyk isn't Barnett. And second of all, he's earned the right to be in a position to be able to command and demand a certain amount of money. And it's all about money. And it's now about, I believe, it's really about egos in the room. The fighters are now determining, not their managers and not their representations and not their promoters. It's the two fighters going, I've had enough of him. I won't be ridden like a donkey. I'm no longer going to give him this, that and the other. The rematch clause goes in, and it goes in probably on a 50-50 basis. And if Oleksandr Usyk wins that fight, then it should be on a 50-50 basis. And I don't care what Frank's argument is about Tyson Fury being the A side. If he loses that fight, at the very worst case scenario, it should be 50-50 on the second fight, because again, it'll be Fury bringing the juice into the fight, because if it's got to be fought again in this country. But then you might have a situation where they're worried about the splits, because the splits will be based upon a Saudi Arabian fight, and then all of a sudden the numbers get very, 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 very big. Yeah. And so they're all fighting for that particular piece of that particular pie. There has to be a will. And if Usyk really wants this fight for the undisputed title, which is going to be disbanded anyway, but notwithstanding it, he lays the claim to be the first person to have achieved it in 20 years since Lennox Lewis, then the will has to be there. Because it would appear to me, despite people's perception of my allegiance to Frank Warren or Ben Shalom and not Eddie Hearn, you've got to get fights done. And if Frank doesn't get it done, he's failed in the same way that if Eddie Hearn didn't get a fight done, he's failed.
It reflects
but
I
do think the will is there. I do think the will is there. And if the will's there, and he's already got Tyson to accept that the rematch clause stays in, which I find a bit contradictory, because I'm pretty sure that Tyson Fury was the one that wanted the rematch clause in the first place. And then to take it out is about, I'm the bigger dog in the room. I'm the big dog. This is how I bark, you sit down.
He didn't say they're going to take it out, did he?
No, you're missing the point. They want it. Tyson Fury wants the rematch clause out. Tyson Fury introduced a rematch clause in the first place. When the negotiations started, the rematch clause concept was introduced by Fury's camp. Frank's saying that's not the case. I'm not sure that's true. Now what we're saying is Tyson Fury's got his 70-30, and Tyson's now saying, oh, and by the way, whilst we have this moment to share, we'll have the rematch clause out as well, right? And now logic would tell you that doesn't make a big commercial sense, because actually, Tyson, if you do get beat, you'd want the rematch. But he's basically trying to call it out mano, say, I tell you what, I'm so confident I don't even need a rematch
but that's
against
not what
you.
Frank just said.
No, but Frank is now saying that the rematch clause is in the split. But the bottom line is Fury doesn't want to have an hour conversation about the split. He wants us to dictate the split on that. Well, and if he loses that fight, surely there has to be a concession made to Usyk. Otherwise, that's not a will, is it? That's not a deal. That's an autocracy.
We showed what we hope happens by getting the two of them together, Simon. How we did it is another matter. But getting the two of them together live on air with us here at talkSPORT, it's up to them now. If they don't feel duty bound to get this done for fight fans, Simon, they never will.
I don't think if this fight doesn't happen, it's not them two to blame.
No, it's the fighters.
Yeah.
That's
where I'm at.
There was a point where, and I've said it to Frank before, and I've said to him, why don't you kick him up the jacksie and get him to do as he's told? You're the promoter. He goes on the radio telling everybody what deadlines Anthony Joshua's got. He said, well, you try doing that. Our bottom line is, it's easier said than done, because Fury's a law unto himself. If Fury feels the heat, the genuine heat of people's disapproval and people's contempt and disdain, and it's loud enough and long enough, then maybe he'll change his view on things. But right now, he keeps winning. He gets put in a situation where we say, hang on, this is not a 70-30 fight, you're taking the mickey. This is a 60-40 fight. He gets his way, and everyone should bow to him. So he's used to getting his own way, and there needs to be some sort of acceptance, however big you are, however strong you are in the world, that somewhere a deal needs to be done that works for both parties. And Frank's argument, I know what his argument is, he's lucky. He's getting 30% of a purse that he'd never get. That works to a point. But when you get into a rematch situation, there's a different discussion there, because if your boy gets beat, you can't even be really suggesting that Usyk doesn't get a really different dimension on that basis.
Well, it sounded like he was 50-50, didn't it?
No, it didn't.
Sorry,
it didn't.
Sorry, it sounded like he was happy with 50-50, but
it didn't sound
Usyk
like that.
Won him
it
more.
sounded like the fact. Well, it sounded like the fact that Usyk's going to get a somewhat similar deal, on maybe 60-40 to Fury, even if he won the fight. That's what it sounded like to me. Yeah. And if I'm Usyk, I'd tell him to blow it out of his backside.
And it's all well and good as well, you suggesting that it's easy for Frank to get Tyson Fury to walk in line or do whatever, do as he's told. How long have you been told on this show to stop eating on set and stop doing what you want?
Oh, there you go.
And belittling people and swearing on air and stuff.
I don't swear. I only belittle those that deserve it.
That's okay.
Step forward, Martin.
So there we are. Krassyuk came to air at the same time as Frank Warren, and now, as we're led to believe by both of them, the talking at this moment goes on. So maybe it's not off. Maybe they'll find a way. As soon as we know, you will know. It's Murphy, Jordan and White boxing promoters live on talkSPORT.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.